That's really cool.
Very
Congratulations.
nice.
Yeah,
So you
thank
said
you.
your birthday's in September. Are you a Virgo?
Yes.
Hey, so are we.
We're both.
And
Yes.
I hate that
know.
I just said that on air.
I know we're all Virgos.
But we're all Virgos.
Exactly.
We're
Steven,
all-
are you a Virgo? What are
No.
you, Steven?
Steven's a Taurus.
Oh, really? So
Oh.
my partner's a Taurus, and Virgo and Taurus are very
we
compatible.
we gel well.
So
I've always, that's what I've appreciated about you when you signed on, and I was thinking
about Steven?
yeah, no, well, about David, it's like, come on, and why I was thinking, yeah, we should have him because, and all the time that I've known you, it's like, and you've been able to kind of maneuver and do that in a way, and be true to your recovery,
Yes.
and it's a slippery kind of like place to be, because I think I always think to myself, it's like, okay, so, and I joke with my sponsees about, okay, so we've all been acting like adults. I mean, we're all adults, but we haven't been acting like it. And sometimes we're extremely defiant about the things that, don't work in our life, the things that maybe can cause us to kind of relapse or to fall short or whatever. And to be honest and to normalize, because I think that's a big part too, to normalize something that is just so natural and beautiful,
What?
Sex.
Oh, okay. I mean, that whole time I wasn't sure what you were talking about.
You know what? I think that you should drink some coffee before, and so you can.
I was like, what are you talking about? You could have been talking about sharks for all I know.
Wow.
But you were talking about like his.
This is what, in the beginning, I was the one, like I was always poking and prodding, and if you go back and watch older episodes, but the student has surpassed the teacher. And now,
Interesting.
well, the reality of it is like I told them I didn't create this. It was already there. I just maybe encourage you to just be true to who you are.
We have company. Can we behave in front of the guests?
I'll try.
So David, so this is really exciting to have you on. So you've actually, I think you've watched every episode this month, which has been centered around like sex and recovery and pride. And I've appreciated a lot of your contributions during those conversations. So I'm wondering if anything has stood out from you in some of our most recent conversations.
Good luck getting me to remember. I just remember last week there was a topic of discussion, and I don't remember what I had written, like this long, ridiculous comment and posted it. I was like expecting you guys to just read it and answer to it, but and I don't remember what it was about. But no, I think here's my takeaway from the last couple of times that I've watched. Is it has cultivated so much curiosity for me, because I feel like you're the newer generation. You're the younger recovery generation who are coming up in this new world with digital media and more information, sex positivity, more tools are available to us nowadays, that we have evolved into this really great space. And to hear you guys, I don't remember who your guest was last week, but he was really great too. We were talking about going into sex clubs, and it was just so like, I got a little bit emotional, because for me it's such a huge win. It's like I just remember being early in sobriety and being so terrified, and there was so much stigma and there was so much shame, and PrEP wasn't really out, and there wasn't a lot of, it was just, in my world, at least in my perception, there was a lot of judgment, and it was tough at first. As a matter of fact, it was so tough that I actually hid the fact that I was a sex worker for the first 16 months of my sobriety. I don't know who I was hiding it from, but I know that I didn't officially come out to my sponsor about it, and I was terrified. And then when I finally kicked the doors off of the closet about being a sex worker, I was really defensive about it. I was really like, and I was still learning. In my world, I was still very new in recovery, and that defense mechanism was a survival technique, but it just feels like we don't have to do that anymore. Like just listening to your guys' last couple of podcasts, I was just like so relieved, that we have this sort of cultivation of curiosity and courage to support one another and to show up for each other, especially around sex, because it's so weird and awkward sometimes. It can be so shame ridden, so yeah.
Can you say more about, you were talking about like not disclosing that you were a sex worker? So I imagine that before you got sober and now that you're sober, you've had to navigate like shame. And so I'm wondering, like, what has that looked like as a sober person in recovery?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I wish I could get you to repeat it.
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
it?
yeah. So
Yeah,
what
could
I'm
you?
asking is like, so what I'm assuming here, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that when you didn't disclose, and not that you even had to disclose that you were a sex worker, right? But it sounds like there was some shame around disclosing that you were a sex worker, right? And so I
Oh, totally.
imagine that in like the span of your life, you've had to navigate shame, right? So shame when you were drinking and using, and then shame as someone in recovery. And so I'm wondering, like, what has that trajectory looked like for you?
There's a slight separation there.
Okay.
The shame of avoiding trying to own being a sex worker is completely different than the guilt I felt for not disclosing to my sponsor and the people that I'm supposed to be accountable to that I was participating in sex work in recovery, especially in early recovery. I was just having this conversation the other day because I had said, I want to try it, right? I totally lied and said I had been doing it for a long time. I was such a liar when I first got it. I got into the rooms. I was such a dope fiend, and I was just I had to make money and I had to do my thing and I wasn't letting anybody take my bag from me, right?
Right.
My money, not my
Yeah,
I
we
gave
got
up
it.
the
We got it.
dope.
We got it. We got
So
it.
anyway, so yeah, but as thing, I was trying to think a little bit deeper about this because it was like at first I was very defensive, right? I was like, I'm going to do this work. It's helping other people. I'm being of service to the guys who couldn't, it was just all this other stuff. And once the walls started coming down and the defenses started coming down, the more sacred aspects of the work I was doing started showing up, especially in the people that I would see. And one of the very big turning points in my work as a sex worker was that I showed up for a man and I didn't know that he was an amputee and that he was a war veteran and he had PTSD and he had all this shame and despair around it.